is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome to the Morgan Mann Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Cole Morgan. Here on the Morgan Mann Sports Podcast, we talk Atlanta Falcons news, pre-game predictions, and all other news surrounding the Atlanta Falcons.
Touchdown, Atlanta!
Also on the podcast, we talk Call of Duty League, Esports, covering Roster Mania, major predictions, COD champs, player trades, and much more to get you ready for every single CDL weekend.
Scuff goes through, and Scuff snaps, wins the one-on-one in Optic with the reverse sweep.
If that sounds good with you, put on your Falcons jersey, grab your gaming headset, and let's get this show started. What is going on, you guys? I'm your host, Stacy Cole Morgan, and you are listening to the Morgan Mann Sports Podcast here on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Good Pod HQ, or wherever you find your preferred podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about the CDL 2023 season recap for the Optic Texas squad. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we are previewing this Sunday's matchup between the Atlanta Falcons visiting the Tennessee Titans. So without any further delay, let's go to get straight into today's action. All right, guys. So Optic came into this season as about probably like the number 3 favorites of winning COD champs. And the season looked very promising for Optic Texas. I'm not going to say a lie. The roster consisted of Shotzi, Hook, Dashy, and Ghosty. And looking at that on paper, you're thinking, oh gosh, like this is going to be the God Squad that's going to be of all God Squads throughout the entire Call of Duty Esports history. And again, it looked like that at certain times, and at other points of times, it just didn't. So the lowest moment, I think, for Optic Texas was definitely COD champs. You won against Boston in a 3-1, but then lose to New York in a 3-1, and then go into losers round 2 match 1 against Seattle and lose to them 3-2. And there's your season right there. You didn't do nothing. And the highest points, I should say, for Optic was stage 4 and stage 5. Because they went flawless throughout the qualifying series. But then go into the actual majors from those stages, and they just totally flop. I don't understand that about Optic gaming in general. I used to be a fan myself. Don't get me wrong. I used to be a fan. I used to go through those heartbreaks so much, like I still do right now for the Atlanta Falcons. But still, though, at the end of the day, you go flawless in your qualifying series, but then you flop when it comes to actually winning a championship, and I don't understand that so much. And you can have all this talent in the world, like a Shotzi, a Hoot, Dashy, or a Ghosty. Maybe not so much Ghosty, but still like Dashy and Hook and Shotzi. I mean, those 3 right there should be enough to win you, a major championship, or hell, even COD champs, but it just never happened. So that's not giving me much optimism for this coming season, knowing that you have Pred on the squad now. Yes, Pred is definitely an awesome player. He's one of the most highly sought out players in Call of Duty Esports right now. But still, though, it just doesn't give me hope to sit here and think, okay, you just went and got one of the best players, but are you going to actually be able to contribute to a major trophy or even COD champs? That's going to be the question moving forward for Optic Texas. But their total map win-loss ratio is a 56.3 with 107 wins, 83 losses. Series win-loss ratio is a 64.6 with 31 wins, 17 losses. Looking over at the game modes, I go over team stats, not individual stats. Hardpoint, Kills per 10 minutes is 87.2. Overall KD is 1.02. And number of maps is 79. Search and destroy, you get kills per round is 2.84. First bloods per round is 52.8. Overall KD is 1.05. And number of maps, 61. Control, kills per 10 minutes is 68.7. Overall KD is a 0.99. And number of maps is 50. So looking at this, definitely Optic Texas is that well-rounded team, but especially whenever it does come to the respawn game modes. And whenever you have Shotzi and then Dashi together, they're going to expose a lot of angles in the map that you're not even going to be able to think of, and they're going to catch you off guard whenever you're trying to capture the hill or capture that point in control. So that's what makes him deadly. It's just, I don't know what to say really much about Optic Texas. They have so much talent, but they choke when it comes to a championship. So much. Now, I know what you could say about the Atlanta Falcons, because I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan myself, about choking, at the championship thing. But hey, we won COD champs. Optic hasn't won nothing since the CDL franchising. And that was back in 2019, right in there. So you really got to think before you come at some Atlanta Falcons fans. So overall, Optic Texas does get a B+ in my books. Had a great season, going flawless in, the stage 5 and stage 4 segments. But what caps it off at a B+ is their inability to push further and win the majors in the COD champs this year. And there was some rough communication there at first with this squad, but definitely towards the end they started figuring things out, but it still just wasn't enough, again, to win a major or COD champ. So a B+ is definitely what I give Optic Texas for their 2023 season recap. So now moving on over, ladies and gentlemen, to the Atlanta Falcons taking on the red-hot Tennessee Titans. And guys, before we get into that, I do want to quickly mention, if you really are loving the content right now that is being produced for the podcast and the article blogs, please drop a subscribe, a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Sure would mean a lot right here to continue making content each and every single Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for your listening pleasure. So now the Atlanta Falcons, who are red hot as well, taking on the Tennessee Titans, who are starting to gain just a little bit of momentum here lately. So will it be enough to kind of overbreak the Atlanta Falcons? Or will the Atlanta Falcons overcome, especially now since we got the news as of today's recording on October 25th, that Will Levis from Kentucky will be the starting quarterback this Sunday against the Falcons in their throwback uniforms from the Houston Oilers days, if I'm pronouncing that right. So Atlanta did open up as just a -1 point favorite on the road, but now is current a -2.5, with the public bet sitting at 55%, and this is at 7:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on October 25th. The money line is going in favor of Atlanta at the -155, with a public bet sitting at 64%. Your total over and under point spread did open up at 37, but it's dropped now to a total of 35.5 points. People are taking the over at an 88% public bet. And as always, we go over overall team stats, not individual player stats. So for league rankings, this matchup, the Atlanta Falcons offense versus Tennessee Titans defense. The Falcons are now a 13th overall offense, with 16th in passing and 8th in rushing. However, we are 29th in scoring, and that definitely needs to get better this weekend against the Titans. Now, the Titans defense is not really bringing a lot to the table with it being a 17th overall defense. So it could be a little bit an even out matchup, but the passing game definitely is where Desmond Ridder needs to shine at this weekend, because the Titans defense is 22nd overall. Now for rushing, we are an 8th best rush offense, so we are definitely moving up, especially with Cordell Patterson back in the huddle. But the Titans defense is the 14th best of stopping the run. The Falcons defense versus the Titans offense. So this is where Ryan Nielsen should have an absolute field day. I'm talking like sack after sack. Grady Jarrett and Calais Campbell should just trade sacks all freaking day on this right here, and we are to get some interceptions, because the Atlanta Falcons defense is 3rd overall in the National Football League with a 5th best passing defense and 8th best rushing defense. The Tennessee Titans offense is 28th overall with a 29th best overall passing offense and 19th overall rushing offense. So this Falcons defense should be atrocious, relentless and fearless against this Titans offense. We should be able to win this game flawlessly on defense, but it's just going to be the big question of whether or not the offense is going to hold up right. Again, the run game has now been coming alive, but this offense for passing definitely needs to be better. And I'm not sitting here saying it's horrible, because Desmond Ridder does throw some beautiful passes that are deep downfield, especially that one last week, or actually 2, I should say, to Kyle Pitts and Tyler Algier and Scotty Miller. So that makes 3 actually. And it's just the fumbling and throwing interceptions that makes Desmond Ridder, in the public's eyes, not a great quarterback. I believe he's a great quarterback. I really do. But just get rid of those fumbles, get rid of those interceptions, and this is a perfect weekend against a mediocre Titans defense near about it to really improve yourself and learn from your mistakes. So my overall opinion, ladies and gentlemen, I think the Falcons should win this game right here, not by the 2.5 point spread, but I should say at least maybe a 10-point advantage over the Tennessee Titans. So I'm going to say at least a 20-10 victory for the Atlanta Falcons this Sunday at Nissan Stadium to improve their overall win-loss ratio to 5-3 on the season, as the Tennessee Titans will fall to 2-5. So guys, I sure hope you did enjoy, and if you did, make sure to like button wherever you are listening from: iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, GoodPod HQ, which recently have just recently been informed that I'm 98 overall in the top 100 indie sports podcast network according to GoodPod HQ. So shout out to GoodPod HQ on that stat right there for Morgan Mann Sports. Shout out to Belly Up Sports Media Network. Definitely got some great people over there writing some great articles that are being nominated for some awards right now. So that's definitely fantastic. And we just got a whole bunch of podcasters who are just freaking awesome and does well with their content. So guys, again, hope y'all enjoyed. And I, Cole Morgan, will catch you all later. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.